My name is Ethan Walker, and for 5 years, I was the only person in Sterling Global who dared to tell Victoria Sterling the truth. Everyone else called her the Ice Queen. They whispered that she had no emotions. They said she could fire 10 people before breakfast and never lose sleep over it. They said no man in the world would ever be important enough to make her change her mind. They were wrong about one thing. She did have emotions. I was just the only person who had ever seen them. Your coffee is wrong. Victoria Sterling didn't even look up from the documents in her hand. I stood in front of her desk, holding the cup I had just brought from the private cafe downstairs. Good morning to you too. Victoria. She finally raised her eyes. Her expression was cold, perfectly controlled, the kind of expression that made senior executives nervous. But I knew her too well. I noticed the slight movement of her fingers. She was tired. You added 2 sugars. Yes, I only drink 1. I know. Her eyebrows slightly lifted. Then why did you make it wrong? Because you didn't sleep last night. The room became quiet. Victoria looked at me. Most people avoided looking directly at her. I never did. You were working until 3 a.m. I continued, when you don't sleep enough, you get headaches. The extra sugar helps. She stared at me for a few seconds. Then she took the coffee. She drank it. No complaint, no argument, just a quiet sip. You're becoming too comfortable. Ethan. I smiled. That's because you keep letting me. For a moment, something changed in her eyes. A small crack in that perfect CEO mask. Then it disappeared. You have a meeting in 10 minutes. I know. In the Jackson Project report, already finished. The board members, I prepared the documents they'll ask for. The presentation, updated last night. She looked at me. You work too much. I almost laughed. Coming from her, that sentence was unbelievable. You're saying that? Yes. You worked until 3 a.m. I'm the CEO. And I'm your assistant. Her expression changed slightly. That's not the same. I paused, because I knew what she meant. To her, I was different, at least. I wanted to believe I was. 5 years ago, when I first joined Sterling Global, everyone told me one thing: stay away from Victoria Sterling. She was brilliant, beautiful, powerful, and completely unreachable. But nobody knew the small things. Nobody knew she hated thunderstorms. Nobody knew she secretly kept handwritten notes from employees who thanked her. Nobody knew she skipped meals whenever she was stressed. Nobody knew she always looked at the empty chair beside her during company dinners. Except me, because I was always there. I remembered every little thing about her. And somehow, without realizing it, I had fallen in love with her. A love I never planned. A love I never confessed. Because Victoria Sterling was my boss, and I was just Ethan Walker, her assistant, the man standing behind her. The man who made her life easier, but never the man standing beside her. At least, that was what I believed. Until today. Victoria. She looked up. Yes, I'm resigning. The words left my mouth before I could change my mind. For the first time in 5 years, Victoria Sterling looked completely shocked. What did you say? I'm leaving Sterling Global. Her fingers stopped moving. The pen in her hand froze. Why? I had prepared this conversation many times, but when I finally said it, my heart still hurt. I'm going home. Home. Yes. Why? I smiled slightly, because my family arranged a marriage for me. Silence. A long silence. Victoria stared at me. I expected anger. I expected disappointment. I expected her to ask me to stay because I was useful, but I didn't expect what happened next. Her voice became softer. Who? I blinked. What? The woman you're marrying. I looked away. Her name is Emily. Victoria repeated the name quietly. Emily, yes. And you love her? The question surprised me, because Victoria never asked about my personal life. Not once. I hesitated. I don't know. Her eyes narrowed. You don't know? It's complicated. Explain. I looked at her, the CEO of Sterling Global, the woman who could control entire companies with a single decision. But right now, she looked like someone afraid of hearing the answer. My parents want me to settle down. They think I've spent too many years working. Emily is someone they believe is suitable. And you agreed? Yes. Why? I was silent because the real answer was painful. Because I was tired. Tired of loving someone who never looked at me that way. Tired of waiting for something that would never happen. I think it's time for me to choose a different life. Victoria's expression became colder. But I saw it, the sadness hidden underneath. You're quitting because of a marriage? Yes. She stood up, slowly, normally. When Victoria stood, everyone became nervous. But this time, I was nervous because I didn't know what she was thinking. Ethan. Yes, withdraw your resignation. I froze. Victoria, that wasn't a request. Her voice returned to the familiar CEO tone. Cold, powerful, absolute. I said withdraw it. I shook my head. I can't. Her eyes changed. You can't? No. Why? because I already made my decision. For the first time in 5 years, Victoria Sterling looked angry at me. Not as a boss, as a person. You made a decision. Yes. Without telling me, I was confused. You're my boss. The moment I said that, I regretted it, because her expression changed. Something hurt flashed across her face. Only for a second, but I saw it. You really think I'm only your boss? I didn't answer, because I didn't know how to. Victoria walked around the desk. She stopped in front of me, close enough that I could smell her perfume, close enough that I could see the emotion she was trying to hide. Ethan Walker. Yes. When are you leaving? 2 weeks. 2 weeks, she repeated softly. Then she looked away. I thought the conversation was over. I thought she accepted it. I was wrong, because before I reached the door, she spoke. Ethan. I turned around. Yes. Her voice was quiet, almost unlike her. Do you really want to marry someone else? My heart tightened. I forced myself to smile. I think it's the right thing. She stared at me. Then she said something I never expected. Fine. I nodded. Thank you for understanding. But she wasn't finished. She picked up my resignation letter, looked at it, then slowly tore it in half. My eyes widened. Victoria, she dropped the pieces onto the desk. Your resignation is rejected. I couldn't believe it. You can't do that. I'm the CEO. That doesn't mean you control my life. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Victoria stepped closer. Her voice was low. Maybe I should have told you sooner. Told me what? She looked at me, and for the first time, the Ice Queen looked vulnerable. I don't want you to leave. My heart stopped, but before I could respond, she turned away. The moment disappeared. Meeting in 10 minutes. Ethan. I stood there completely confused, because Victoria Sterling had never said anything like that. Not once. And I had no idea that my resignation letter would become the reason she finally stopped hiding her feelings. Or that 2 weeks later, when I was preparing to leave the company forever, Victoria Sterling would appear in front of my family, wearing a white dress, holding a diamond ring, and say, everyone can stop looking for Ethan's bride, because she's already here. I'm his bride. I spent the next 3 days pretending nothing had happened. That was the hardest part. Not resigning, not leaving Sterling Global, not even telling Victoria Sterling that I was going to marry someone else. The hardest part was walking into her office every morning and acting like she hadn't looked at me with that expression, like she hadn't whispered, I don't want you to leave, because Victoria Sterling didn't say things like that. She was the woman who could stand in front of a room full of investors and destroy their arguments with 3 sentences. She was the woman who never showed weakness. She was the woman everyone believed had no heart. But I saw something different. I saw a woman who was scared, and that scared me more than anything, because if Victoria Sterling was afraid of losing me, why? That question kept bothering me. Ethan. Her voice pulled me back. I looked up from my laptop. Victoria was standing beside my desk. Everyone nearby immediately became silent. That was normal. When the CEO walked through the office, people stopped talking. But today, I noticed something else. Everyone was looking between us. They knew something was different. Victoria crossed her arms. Come to my office. I checked the time. I have the Thompson meeting in 20 minutes. Cancel it. I frowned. Victoria, that meeting has been scheduled for 2 weeks. I know. Then why cancel it? Because I said so. Normally, I would have followed immediately. But this time, I didn't move. Victoria, her eyes narrowed. Yes, you can't keep doing this. The entire office became frozen. Nobody had ever spoken to her like that. Not even senior executives. Victoria looked at me. What exactly am I doing? Changing meetings because you're upset. A few employees quickly looked away. They were probably thinking I had lost my mind, talking to Victoria Sterling like that was dangerous. But she didn't get angry. Instead, she asked quietly, do you think I'm upset? I hesitated. Yes. Why? Because I'm leaving. The answer was simple, but something in her expression changed. She looked away. For a moment, she wasn't the CEO. She was just Victoria. A woman who didn't know how to say what she felt. Come to my office. This time, her voice was softer. I followed her. As soon as the door closed, she walked behind her desk, but she didn't sit down. She just looked at me. Tell me about Emily. I was surprised. Again, why? I want to know. Why? She stared at me. Do I need a reason? Yes. A long silence. Then she said, because you're leaving because of her. I sighed. Victoria. No. Her voice became serious. I spent 5 years watching you put everyone else first. I froze. What? You heard me. She walked closer. You remember every employee's birthday. You fix everyone's mistakes before they become problems. You stay late because other people leave early. She looked at me. But when it comes to yourself, you never choose what you want. I didn't know how to answer, because she was right. But hearing those words from her felt strange. You don't know what I want, don't I? Her question surprised me. I looked at her. Victoria held my gaze. For a second, I thought she was going to say something important, something I had waited years to hear. But then she stopped. She looked away. No matter. That hurt more than I expected, because once again, she pulled back, like she always did. I smiled slightly. That's exactly why I need to leave. Her eyes moved back to me. Explain. I've spent 5 years waiting for something that probably doesn't exist. Her expression changed. What doesn't exist? I looked down. I shouldn't have said it, but maybe after leaving, it wouldn't matter anymore. The possibility that I could become someone important to you. The room went completely quiet. Victoria didn't move. I continued. You've always been important to me. My voice became softer. More important than you probably realize. Her eyes widened slightly. But I know my place. Ethan, I'm your employee. No. Her answer came immediately. Too quickly. I looked at her. Victoria seemed to realize what she had said. She lowered her voice. You're not just my employee. Then what am I? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out, and that was my answer. I smiled. Exactly. I turned around, but before I reached the door, wait, I stopped. Victoria rarely sounded uncertain, but now, she did. I turned. She was holding something, a small black box. My heart skipped. What is that? She looked at it, then back at me. I was going to give this to you later. I stared. Give me. She nodded. Slowly. I thought I had more time. My heartbeat increased. Victoria Sterling, the woman who never hesitated, the woman who always had a plan, was standing there looking nervous. She opened the box. Inside was a watch, a very expensive one. But that wasn't what shocked me. It was the engraving on the back. I stepped closer. There were words carved into the metal. EW. My initials. I looked at her. You bought this for me? Yes. Why? She was silent. Then she said, because today is your 5th anniversary at Sterling Global. I froze. She remembered? Everyone forgot. Even I forgot. But she remembered. I wanted to give you something. She looked down. Something that showed you I appreciated everything you've done. I swallowed. Victoria, but then you told me you were leaving. Her voice became quieter, and I realized something. What? She looked directly at me. I don't want to give you a gift as your boss. My breath stopped. Then what? She didn't answer. Not directly. Instead, she closed the box. Go to your meeting. I stared at her. That's it? Yes. You're not going to explain? No. Why? Because I was frustrated. Because I was tired. Because after 5 years of trying to understand this woman, I still couldn't. Victoria looked at me. Then she said, because if I say it now, she paused. If I say it now, you might think I'm only saying it because you're leaving. My heart moved. Victoria, go. This time, I left, but something had changed. For the first time, I wondered if maybe I had misunderstood everything. Maybe Victoria Sterling wasn't emotionless. Maybe she wasn't indifferent. Maybe she was just afraid. That evening, I went to dinner with my parents. My mother was smiling the entire time. I'm so happy you finally agreed. I forced a smile. Mom, Emily is a wonderful girl. You'll like her. I nodded. Maybe this was the right choice. A normal life. A simple relationship. Someone who would openly say she loved me. Someone who wouldn't make me spend 5 years guessing. Then my phone rang. I looked down. The caller ID made me freeze. Victoria Sterling. My parents looked at me. Who is it? I stood up. I need to take this. I walked outside. Hello. For several seconds, there was only silence. Then her voice came. Where are you? I frowned. Why? Answer me. Ethan. I looked around. I'm having dinner. With your family? Yes. Discussing your wedding? My heart tightened. How do you know that? Silence. Then, I know everything about you. The sentence was quiet, almost painful. I didn't know what to say. Then she asked, do you really want to marry her? I closed my eyes. Victoria. No. Her voice trembled slightly. Don't give me the answer you think I want to hear. I stayed silent. She continued, I want the truth. I looked at the restaurant window, at my family, at the life I was about to choose. Then I asked, why does it matter to you? Another silence. Longer this time. Then Victoria said, because I finally realized something. My heart started beating faster. What? Her voice was almost a whisper. If you leave. I waited. If you leave Sterling Global. Another pause. If you leave my life. I heard her take a breath. I don't know who I am without you. I couldn't move. The woman I had loved silently for 5 years just admitted she needed me. But before I could answer, she added, Ethan, yes, don't make any wedding decisions yet. Why? Her next words changed everything. Because you're not marrying Emily. I frowned. What? A strange confidence returned to her voice. You're marrying me. I froze. Victoria, I'll prove it. Prove what? That I'm not asking you to stay because you're my assistant. Her voice became softer. I'm asking you to stay because you're the only man I ever wanted beside me. The call ended. I stood outside the restaurant completely speechless because Victoria Sterling, the Ice Queen CEO, the woman everyone thought had no feelings, had just declared war on my arranged marriage. And somehow, the most unbelievable part wasn't that she wanted me. The unbelievable part was I wanted to believe her. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the wedding, not because of Emily, because of one sentence. You're marrying me. Those 4 words kept repeating in my mind. Victoria Sterling said them like they were the most obvious thing in the world. Like there was never another possibility. Like she had already made her decision. But I knew Victoria. She never acted without a reason. Every move she made was calculated. Every word she spoke had a purpose. So why did she suddenly tell me she wanted to marry me? After 5 years? After I had already decided to leave? I spent the entire night asking myself the same question. Was she serious? Or was she just afraid of losing someone who had always been there? The next morning, I arrived at Sterling Global earlier than usual. I wanted answers, but when I stepped into the office, something felt different. People were unusually quiet. My coworker Daniel immediately walked toward me. Ethan. Morning. He looked around before lowering his voice. Are you okay? I frowned. Why wouldn't I be? He gave me a strange look. Because everyone heard. Heard what? That you're leaving. I sighed. That was supposed to be private. Daniel shook his head. Nothing is private in this company when it involves Victoria Sterling. I didn't respond. He looked at me carefully. Is it true? What? You're quitting because you're getting married? I nodded. Yes. Daniel looked confused. Then, why does the CEO look like she's about to declare war? I froze. What? He pointed toward the CEO office. She hasn't spoken to anyone all morning. That wasn't unusual. Victoria was often quiet. But Daniel continued. She rejected 3 meetings, canceled a business dinner, and yesterday, she personally reviewed your resignation documents. My heart skipped. She reviewed them? Daniel nodded. Yeah. And Ethan? He hesitated. I've worked here for 6 years. I've never seen her care about anyone the way she cares about you. I looked away because hearing that from someone else made it harder to ignore. Before I could answer, my phone vibrated. A message from Victoria. Come to my office. Now. No greeting, no explanation. Classic Victoria. I walked in. She was standing by the window, not behind her desk. That immediately told me something. Victoria only stood there when she was thinking. Close the door. I did. For a few seconds. Neither of us spoke. Then she turned around. Did you sleep? I blinked. That's your first question? Yes. No. Why? I almost laughed because someone called me last night and told me she wanted to marry me. Her expression changed, a tiny reaction, but I saw it. Somewhat. I raised an eyebrow. Are you pretending you don't know? No. Then why ask? She looked away. I wanted to hear you say it. That answer surprised me. Victoria Sterling wanted reassurance? From me? Victoria. She looked back. I need to understand. Understand what? Why? Her face became serious. Why what? Why me? Silence. A normal person might have struggled to answer, but Victoria didn't. She walked toward me. You really don't know? I shook my head. No. She stopped in front of me. Ethan, do you remember 5 years ago? I nodded. When I first joined? No. She shook her head. When you first joined me, I frowned. What? She corrected herself. When you became my assistant, I looked at her. You interviewed hundreds of people. Yes. And chose me. Yes. Because I was qualified. No. That answer shocked me. No. She looked at me. Because you were the only person who treated me like a person. I didn't speak. Victoria continued. During my interview, everyone talked about my company, my family, my achievements. She paused. But you asked me if I was tired. I remembered. 5 years ago, I had asked her a simple question. Are you okay? Because she looked exhausted. Everyone else saw the CEO. I saw someone who hadn't rested in days. I thought you were different, she said. I smiled slightly. Different? Yes. How? You weren't afraid of me. I looked at her. That's because you never scared me. Something softened in her eyes. Exactly. She looked down. And I think that was when I started noticing you. My heartbeat changed. Victoria, I didn't understand it at first. She continued. I thought I respected you. She smiled faintly. Then I thought I depended on you. A pause. Then yesterday, when you told me you were leaving, her voice became quiet. I realized I wasn't afraid of losing an assistant. I waited. I was afraid of losing Ethan. For years, I imagined hearing those words, but now that they were real, I didn't know how to react. Because part of me was happy, and another part of me was angry. Then why didn't you tell me? She froze. Why? I looked at her. 5 years. Victoria. She lowered her eyes. I know. You knew I was always there. Yes. You knew I cared about you. She didn't answer. That silence hurt. Did you? Her eyes lifted. Did I know? Yes. Another long silence. Then she said, yes. My heart sank. You knew? Yes. Then why? Her answer was quiet. Because I was afraid. I stared at her. Victoria Sterling, the fearless CEO, was afraid. Of what? She looked away. Of losing you. I was confused. You already had me. No. She shook her head. I had your loyalty. She looked at me. But I didn't know if I had your heart. That sentence stayed with me because it was exactly how I felt. I'd always wondered if I mattered, and she had wondered the same thing. Neither of us said anything. 5 years. 5 years of silence. 5 years of misunderstanding. Then she suddenly said, "Come with me." I frowned. Where? Your house. My eyes widened. What? I want to meet your parents. Victoria. Wait. No. She picked up her coat. You said your family arranged your marriage. Yes. Then I'll talk to them. I stared at her. You're serious? Yes. You're the CEO of a billion-dollar company. I know. And you're going to my parents' house? Yes. Why? She looked directly at me. Because if I'm asking you to choose me, she paused. I should have the courage to stand in front of everyone and say why. 30 minutes later, I was sitting in the passenger seat of Victoria's car. Neither of us spoke. I was still trying to understand what was happening. Finally, I said, "You know this is crazy, right?" "Yes." "You're really going to my house?" "Yes." "To tell my parents you want to marry me?" "Yes." I looked at her. "You're not nervous?" For the first time, Victoria smiled. A real smile. I'm terrified. I froze. You? Yes. Why? She glanced at me. Because your opinion matters. That simple sentence hit harder than anything else. When we arrived at my parents' house, my hands were nervous. Not hers. Mine. I looked at Victoria. Are you ready? She nodded. Then she reached over. She grabbed my hand. I froze. Victoria noticed. Is that okay? I looked at our hands, then back at her. Yes. Her fingers tightened slightly. Good. We walked to the door together. My mother opened it, and the moment she saw Victoria Sterling standing beside me, she almost dropped the plate in her hand. Ethan? Yes, Mom. She looked at Victoria, then at me, then back at Victoria. Why is your CEO here? Before I could answer, Victoria stepped forward. Mrs. Walker. My mother immediately became nervous. Yes. Victoria took a breath, then said, I'm here because I want to discuss Ethan's wedding. My father appeared behind my mother. A wedding? Victoria nodded. Yes. She looked at me, then held my hand tighter. Because the woman Ethan should marry. She paused. Is me. My parents froze. And so did I. Because this was no longer just a confession. Victoria Sterling had officially entered my life. And she had no intention of leaving. For several seconds, nobody moved. The room was completely silent. My mother stared at Victoria. My father stared at Victoria. And I was still trying to process what had just happened. Victoria Sterling, the woman who controlled one of the biggest companies in the country, had just walked into my parents' house and announced, the woman Ethan should marry is me. She said it with the same confidence she used in board meetings. Except this time, there were no investors. No executives, no employees, just my family and me. My mother was the first person to react. Ethan. I looked at her. Yes. Mom. She pointed at Victoria. Your CEO? I nodded. Yes. The Victoria Sterling? I nodded again. Yes. My mother looked at my father. My father looked back at her. They had the exact same expression. Confusion, shock, and a little bit of disbelief. Then my father cleared his throat. Please come in. I almost laughed. My father was usually a very calm person, but even he didn't know what to do. Victoria stepped inside, and something unexpected happened. She immediately changed. The cold CEO disappeared. The woman standing in front of my parents wasn't Victoria Sterling, the famous businesswoman. She was just Victoria, a woman trying to make a good impression on the parents of the man she loved. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, thank you for letting me visit. My mother blinked. You're welcome. Victoria slightly bowed her head. I know this situation is sudden. That's one way to describe it. My father said honestly. I almost coughed. Dad. But Victoria didn't get offended. Instead, she nodded. You're right. That surprised me. I should have spoken to Ethan earlier. She glanced at me, but I waited too long. Her voice softened. And because of that, I almost lost him. My heart moved. My mother noticed. Of course she noticed. My mother had always been able to read me better than anyone. She looked between us. Then she smiled slightly. Sit down. Everyone. We sat in the living room. You sat beside Victoria. At first, I thought she might feel uncomfortable, but she didn't. Actually, she looked more nervous than I had ever seen her. My mother poured tea. Victoria. Yes. Mrs. Walker. How long have you known Ethan? 5 years. And you're saying you want to marry him? Yes. No hesitation. Not even a second. My mother studied her. Why? Victoria looked at me, then answered, because Ethan is the only person who has ever seen me. I froze. My parents listened quietly. Most people see my company. She continued. They see my money, my position, my reputation. She looked down at her hands, but Ethan noticed when I was tired. A small smile appeared on her face. He noticed when I skipped meals. He knew when I was pretending to be okay. He remembered things I didn't even remember telling him. My mother's expression softened. Victoria looked at me. He was always there. Then she said something that shocked me, and I was too blind to realize that I was happiest when he was beside me. Nobody spoke, because those words were honest. Too honest. I looked away. I didn't know what to do with the emotions building inside me. For 5 years, I had wondered if she cared. Now she was sitting beside my parents explaining why she loved me. My mother smiled. Ethan. I looked at her. Yes. Did you know? I knew what she meant. I shook my head. No. My mother sighed. Of course you didn't. I frowned. What does that mean? She looked at me. Because you're exactly like your father. My father raised an eyebrow. What? You both spend your lives taking care of people and never asking for anything. I became quiet because she wasn't wrong. My mother turned to Victoria. But I have a question. Victoria nodded. Please ask. If Ethan marries you. She paused. Will he still be Ethan? Victoria looked confused. What do you mean? He's not someone who wants a luxury life. My mother continued. He doesn't care about expensive houses or cars. I know. He doesn't want to become someone's husband just because of money. I know. My mother looked directly into Victoria's eyes. Then what do you want from him? Victoria answered immediately. Everything. My eyebrows lifted. Victoria looked at me. Not his achievements. Not his work. Not what he can do for me. She reached for my hand. I want Ethan. My heart stopped. The person who makes bad jokes when I'm stressed. I looked at her. The person who argues with me when everyone else agrees. The person who knows exactly how I take my coffee. A small smile appeared. The person who thinks he is ordinary, even though he is the strongest person I know. I couldn't speak, because nobody had ever described me that way. Not even myself. My father leaned back, then suddenly asked, Do you love him? The question was simple, but it changed everything. Victoria became quiet. I looked at her, because this was the first time someone asked her directly. Not about business, not about success, about love. She answered slowly, Yes. My chest tightened. I love him. The words were quiet, but certain. I loved him before I understood it. She looked at me. I loved him when he brought me coffee after my father's funeral, because he knew I didn't want to be alone. My eyes widened. I remembered that day. Everyone had sent flowers. Everyone had sent messages. But Victoria didn't want anyone around. Except somehow, I knew. So I stayed outside her office. With coffee. For hours. She never mentioned it. Until now. I loved him when he stayed in the office all night. Because I was preparing for a crisis. I loved him when he told me I was allowed to be tired. I loved him when he was the only person who didn't treat me like I was impossible to approach. Her voice became softer, but I realized it too late. The room was silent. Then my mother smiled. A very satisfied smile. I knew that smile. It meant she had already made a decision. Victoria. Yes, I like you. I almost choked. Mom. What? She looked at me. She came all the way here to fight for you. What else do you want? Mom, this is complicated. No. She shook her head. It's actually very simple. My father nodded. I agree. I looked at both of them. You're both taking her side? My mother laughed. Ethan, your problem is that you think you're choosing. What? She pointed at Victoria. She already chose you. Then she pointed at me. And you chose her 5 years ago. I became silent. Because deep down, I knew she was right. Later that evening, after dinner, I walked Victoria outside. The moment the door closed behind us, we stood quietly. For the first time all day, we were alone. You didn't have to do that. Victoria looked at me. Do what? Come here. Yes, I did. Why? Because I was serious. I looked at her. You really want to marry me? Yes. You understand what that means? Yes. You're Victoria Sterling, and you're Ethan Walker. I frowned. What's your point? She stepped closer. My point is, she looked at me. I don't want you to think I chose you, because I need someone. Her voice became softer. I chose you because I want you. I didn't answer, because my heart was already answering for me. Then she asked, Ethan, yes, do you still want to marry Emily? That question brought me back to reality. The arranged marriage. The reason I started this. I looked down. I don't know. Victoria's expression changed slightly, but she didn't get angry. Instead, she asked, Do you want to know what I think? What? I think you agreed to marry someone else because you believed you could never have me. I didn't deny it, because it was true. She took my hand. Then let me ask you something. I looked at her. If there was never a misunderstanding, she paused. If I told you 5 years ago that I loved you, my heart raced. Would you still choose someone else? I opened my mouth, but no words came out because I knew the answer. No, never. Victoria smiled sadly. That's what I thought. For the first time, I saw hope in her eyes. Not the confidence of a CEO, not the determination of a leader, just hope. And somehow, that scared me more because I realized something. I had spent 5 years trying to get closer to Victoria Sterling. Now that she was finally reaching for me, I was the one afraid. The next morning, I arrived at Sterling Global. Everyone immediately noticed something. Victoria worked beside me, not ahead, not behind, beside me. The entire office became quiet. Daniel nearly dropped his coffee. What happened? I looked at him. What? He pointed at us. The CEO just walked into the building smiling. I looked at Victoria. She was actually smiling at me. Daniel lowered his voice. Ethan, yes. Are you still quitting? I didn't answer immediately because before I could speak, Victoria stopped walking. Everyone looked over. She turned toward me, and in front of the entire company, she said, Ethan, yes, your resignation letter. I raised an eyebrow. What about it? She smiled. It's canceled. The entire office went silent. Then she added, because my future husband doesn't work for me. Everyone froze. My eyes widened. Victoria. She looked at me. What? You just announced that? Yes. In front of everyone? Yes. Why? She smiled. Because I spent 5 years hiding. She stepped closer. I'm done hiding. And at that moment, I realized something. The Ice Queen CEO wasn't chasing me because she was afraid of losing an employee. She was fighting for the man she loved. And somehow, the man she loved was me. I used to think I understood Victoria Sterling. I thought I knew every side of her. I knew how she liked her coffee. I knew she hated unnecessary meetings. I knew she always read contracts twice before signing. I knew she pretended not to care when employees praised her, even though she secretly saved every thank you letter she received. I thought I knew her, but I was wrong, because there was one thing Victoria had hidden from me for 5 years. Something that changed the way I saw everything. And I found out just 1 week before our wedding. The wedding preparations had turned Sterling Global upside down. Not because Victoria was getting married. Everyone already knew that. The shocking part was that Victoria Sterling was actually happy. The woman who used to enter the office with a cold expression now walked in smiling. The woman who hated distractions now allowed people to talk about wedding plans around her. The woman who once worked 18 hours a day was now leaving the office on time because she had promised me something. No more sacrificing everything for work. Those were her words. I remembered them clearly. We were sitting together after dinner when she said it. Ethan, yes, I need to apologize. For what? For making you think work was the only thing that mattered to me. I looked at her. Victoria, no. She shook her head. I know what everyone thinks about me. She paused. They think I'm cold. You are a little. She looked at me. I immediately corrected myself. Okay, a lot. She narrowed her eyes. Then she smiled. But they're wrong. I know. I didn't build this company because I love power. I became quiet. Then why? She looked at me. Because I was afraid. That answer surprised me. Afraid? Yes. Of what? She looked down. Of losing everything. I reached for her hand. Victoria. She squeezed my fingers. My father built Sterling Global. I nodded. I know. But when I was 24, he got sick. I had heard about this. Everyone knew Victoria inherited the company after her father became ill, but nobody knew the details. He spent months in the hospital. Her voice became softer. During that time, everyone around me told me something. What? That I wasn't ready. I frowned. They said I was too young. She smiled sadly. They said I was only successful because of my family name. I understood. Victoria Sterling wasn't born into an easy life. She was born into expectations. I thought if I showed weakness once, she looked at me. Everyone would take everything away from me. My heart hurt because suddenly, the Ice Queen made sense. She wasn't cold because she didn't care. She was cold because she had spent years protecting herself. I'm sorry. She looked surprised. For what? For not realizing sooner. She smiled. You weren't supposed to. Why? Because everyone saw Victoria Sterling. She leaned closer. But you saw me. I held her hand. I still don't understand one thing. What? If you were afraid of losing people, I paused. Why did you keep pushing me away? Her expression changed. Because that was the question I had wanted to ask for years. Victoria became quiet. Then she answered, because you were the only person I couldn't afford to lose. I stared at her. That doesn't make sense. It does. She looked at me. When someone matters too much, she took a breath. You become afraid of wanting them. I didn't speak because I understood. I had done the same thing. I loved her, so I convinced myself I shouldn't. The next day, something unexpected happened. I received an invitation, not to a meeting, not to a company event, to Victoria's old family home. I looked at the message. Victoria, Yes. Why are we going there? She looked nervous. I want you to meet someone. Who? My grandmother. I froze. Your grandmother? Yes. Why am I meeting your grandmother? She looked at me. Because she is the person who knows me best. I smiled. That sounds dangerous. It is. Should I be worried? Yes. I laughed. Victoria. What? You're telling me the most powerful woman in the company is afraid of her grandmother? She looked completely serious. Yes. That was the moment I realized something. Victoria Sterling wasn't fearless. She just knew how to hide fear better than everyone else. Her grandmother, Eleanor Sterling, was exactly what I expected. Elegant, smart, and impossible to fool. The moment we entered the house, she looked at me. Then she looked at Victoria. Then she smiled. So, Victoria immediately became tense. Grandmother, Eleanor ignored her. You're Ethan. I nodded. Yes, ma'am. She smiled. Good. I was confused. That's it? Victoria looked embarrassed. Grandmother, what? You're supposed to ask him questions. I already know enough. I looked at her. You do. Eleanor nodded. Victoria talks about you. I froze. Victoria immediately interrupted. Grandmother, what? You promised. I promised not to embarrass you. She smiled. I didn't promise not to tell the truth. I looked at Victoria. She looked away. Interesting. Very interesting. Eleanor continued. For 5 years, this girl came home and complained about everyone. Victoria sighed. Grandmother, she complained about executives. Stop. She complained about investors. Please. She complained about employees. I looked at Victoria. She crossed her arms. And Eleanor smiled. But she never complained about Ethan. Silence. She only talked about him. My heart moved. Victoria looked down. I didn't realize I did that. Eleanor laughed. That's because you didn't realize many things. She looked at me. Do you know what happened after Ethan joined the company? I shook my head. No. Victoria started coming home earlier. I looked at Victoria. She avoided my eyes. She started eating properly. Grandmother. She started smiling. Victoria became silent. Eleanor smiled. That boy changed you. I looked at Victoria, and for the first time, I wondered, maybe I wasn't the only one who had been waiting. Maybe Victoria had been falling for me from the beginning. Later, while Victoria was talking with her grandmother, I walked around the house. I found something unexpected. A small box with my name on it. I stared. Ethan Walker. My heart started beating faster. I opened it. Inside were small things. A coffee receipt. A company event ticket. A handwritten note. A picture. A picture of me. I picked it up. It was taken 5 years ago. I was sitting at my desk, working. I didn't even know someone took it. Then I saw the date. The day I first joined Sterling Global. I heard footsteps behind me. Ethan. I turned. Victoria stood there. She looked shocked. You found it. I held the box. Victoria. She looked away. I was going to tell you. What is this? Silence. Then she answered. My memories. I stared at her. Your memories? Yes. Why do you have these? She walked closer. Because I was afraid I would forget. Forget what? She looked at the items inside. The moment someone finally treated me like I was normal, my chest tightened. Victoria, I kept every little thing. She smiled slightly. Your first coffee order. The first time you argued with me. The first time you told me I needed rest. She looked at me. I kept them because those were the moments I felt happiest. I couldn't say anything. 5 years. 5 years of thinking I was alone in my feelings. But she had been keeping memories of me, just like I had kept memories of her. Then she whispered, I loved you before I knew how to say it. I stepped closer. Why didn't you tell me? She smiled sadly. Because I was Victoria Sterling. And Victoria Sterling doesn't get rejected. I frowned. Who told you I would reject you? She looked at me. You never told me you loved me. I smiled. Neither did you. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Then we both laughed. Because after 5 years, we finally understood. We weren't ignoring each other. We were both waiting. That night, as we drove home, Victoria rested her head against the window. Ethan. Yes. Are you still afraid? I thought about it. Yes. She looked at me. Of what? I smiled. That I'll wake up and realize this is impossible. She reached over and held my hand. I'm afraid too. You? Yes. Of what? She squeezed my hand. That you'll realize you could have someone easier. I looked at her. Victoria. Yes. I don't want easier. She looked at me. I want you. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she smiled. The same smile I had spent 5 years hoping to see. And I knew something. The wedding wasn't just the beginning of our marriage. It was the end of all the misunderstandings between us. But I didn't know. The biggest challenge was still waiting. Because 3 days before our wedding, someone from Victoria's past appeared. And he came with one goal. To take her away from me. 3 days before my wedding with Victoria Sterling, I learned something important. Happiness doesn't always arrive quietly. Sometimes, right when you finally get everything you've ever wanted, something appears to test whether you truly believe you deserve it. For 5 years, I had loved Victoria from a distance. For 5 years, I convinced myself that someone like her could never choose someone like me. Then she proved me wrong. She stood beside me. She chose me. She fought for me. And now, just when I thought our story was finally moving toward the ending we both wanted, someone came back from her past. Someone who believed Victoria Sterling belonged to him. The first sign that something was wrong happened at the office. I walked into Sterling Global that morning expecting a normal day, but the atmosphere was different. Employees were whispering. Executives looked nervous. Even Daniel, who usually had something funny to say about everything, looked serious. I put my laptop down. What happened? Daniel looked at me. You haven't heard? Heard what? He lowered his voice. Adrian Black is back. The name meant nothing to me at first. Who is Adrian Black? Daniel looked surprised. You don't know? I shook my head. Should I? He looked toward Victoria's office. Probably. Why? Because he's the only man who ever came close to Victoria. My expression changed. What? Daniel nodded. Before you joined the company, Adrian was everywhere. Everywhere. He was Victoria's family friend. He worked with her father. Their families were close. I listened carefully, and Daniel hesitated. Everyone thought they would eventually get married. I felt something tighten in my chest. Everyone. Yes. I looked toward Victoria's office. And what happened? No one knows exactly. I didn't like the way he said that. What do you mean? Daniel shrugged. Victoria never talked about him. That surprised me, because Victoria talked about almost nothing personal. But when she finally opened up to me, she never mentioned Adrian. Not once. Before I could ask more, Victoria's assistant walked out. Ethan. I looked up. Yes, Victoria wants to see you. I nodded. Then I walked toward her office. Victoria was standing by the window when I entered. She didn't turn around immediately. That was unusual. Normally, she always acknowledged me. Victoria. She looked back. Ethan. Something was wrong. I knew immediately. What happened? She looked away. Adrian is back. I crossed my arms. I heard. Her expression changed slightly. You heard? Daniel told me. She nodded. Then silence. I waited. Finally, I asked, who is he? Victoria took a breath. He's someone from my past. I smiled slightly. That much I know. She looked at me. I should have told you. Yes. The answer came faster than I expected. She looked surprised. I continued, not because you owe me an explanation. I softened my voice, but because I'm marrying you. Her expression changed. I could see guilt in her eyes. You're right, Victoria. I thought he was gone. Gone? Yes. She walked toward her desk. Adrian and I grew up together. I stayed quiet. My father trusted him. Did you? She paused. That's complicated. I didn't like that answer, but I didn't interrupt. He was there when my father was sick. She looked down. At that time, I thought he understood me. A small silence. But I was wrong. What happened? Victoria's expression became colder. The moment he realized I would inherit Sterling Global, he changed. I frowned. How? He stopped seeing me as a person. She looked at me. He started seeing me as an opportunity. I understood. And now he's back. Yes. Why? She didn't answer immediately. Then, because of the wedding. My heart sank slightly. He knows about us? Yes. How? News travels. She looked frustrated, especially when the CEO of Sterling Global is marrying an employee. I smiled faintly. Former employee? She looked at me. Then she smiled. Soon, that small smile helped, because it reminded me Victoria was here, with me, not him. That afternoon, Adrian Black came to Sterling Global, and I finally understood why Daniel said he was the only man who came close to Victoria. Because Adrian was everything people expected Victoria to choose. Tall, successful, confident, from an equally powerful family. The kind of man who belonged in her world. When I saw him walk into the office, I understood why everyone assumed they would marry. But then something happened. He saw me and smiled, not warmly, politely, the kind of smile people use when they already think they've won. You must be Ethan. I nodded. Yes. He extended his hand. Adrian Black. I shook it. Nice to meet you. His smile widened. I've heard a lot about you. I looked at him. Have you? Yes. He glanced around. 5 years as Victoria's assistant. The way he said assistant bothered me. And now, he looked at my ring. A ring Victoria had given me 2 days earlier. Her fiancé. I didn't respond. Adrian laughed softly. Interesting. What's interesting? He looked at me. Nothing. But his eyes said something else. He didn't respect me. Before I could say anything, Victoria walked out. The moment she saw Adrian, her expression changed. Cold, sharp. The CEO returned. Why are you here? Adrian smiled. Victoria. No. Her voice was firm. You don't get to act like we're friends." The entire hallway became quiet. Adrian looked surprised. "I came to congratulate you." "Then congratulations accepted, and you can leave." I looked at Victoria. I had never seen her speak to someone like this. Not even angry employees. Adrian's expression darkened. "You're really choosing him?" The question was directed at her, but his eyes were on me. Victoria stepped forward. "Yes." No hesitation. "I'm choosing Ethan." Adrian laughed. "You barely know him." The entire office went silent. I looked at Victoria, waiting, because I wanted to know her answer. She didn't disappoint me. "You're wrong." Her voice was calm. "I know him better than anyone." Adrian shook his head. "Victoria, you're making an emotional decision." "No." She looked at him. "For the first time in my life, I'm making a decision based on what I actually want." I felt my chest tighten. Adrian looked frustrated. "You'll regret this." Victoria didn't even blink. "No." She reached for my hand. "I won't." That evening, I asked Victoria something. We were sitting in my apartment. "What did Adrian mean?" She looked at me. "About what?" "He said you barely know me." She became quiet. I continued. "Is there something I don't know?" Victoria looked down. Then she nodded. "Yes." My heart tightened. "What?" She took a breath. "Before I became CEO, Adrian and I almost got engaged." I stayed silent. Almost. That word mattered. Why didn't it happen? Because I realized something. "What?" She looked at me. "I didn't love him." I nodded slowly. And I was relieved when it ended. I looked at her. "Then why didn't you tell me?" She looked guilty. "Because I was afraid." Again? "Yes." She sighed. "I was afraid you would think you were just replacing someone else." I reached for her hand. "Victoria, yes, I'm not afraid of your past." She looked at me. "I'm afraid of your future." She frowned. "What?" I smiled. "I'm afraid you'll forget how to let me love you." For a moment, she just stared. Then she smiled. "You really know how to surprise me. Good or bad?" "Good." She leaned closer. "Because everyone else tries to impress me." A pause. "But you're the only person who makes me feel safe." The next morning, something happened. Something that almost ruined everything. A news article appeared. The headline was everywhere. Sterling Global CEO Victoria Sterling's secret engagement with Adrian Black revealed. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. The company was in chaos. Everyone was asking questions. And when I arrived at Sterling Global, I saw Adrian waiting. He smiled. "You saw the news?" I looked at him. "What did you do?" He calmly adjusted his jacket. I reminded everyone of the truth. What truth? That Victoria and I were meant to be together. Before I could respond, Victoria arrived. She saw the article. Then she saw Adrian. Her face changed. Not anger. Something worse. Disappointment. "Adrian." He smiled. "Yes." She walked toward him, slowly. Then she said, "You made one mistake." He looked confused. "What?" "You forgot something." "What?" She reached for my hand, then looked at everyone, and said, "The man I'm marrying is Ethan Walker." Silence. Then she looked directly at Adrian. "And I will spend the rest of my life proving that choosing him was the best decision I ever made." I looked at her, and in that moment, I knew the past could return. People could challenge us, but there was one thing nobody could take away. Victoria had chosen me, and this time, she wasn't afraid to say it. But Adrian wasn't finished. That night, I received a message from an unknown number. Only one sentence. "Ethan Walker, before you marry Victoria Sterling, you should know the real reason she chose you." I stared at the message. My heart sank, because suddenly, I wasn't afraid of losing Victoria. I was afraid of discovering that maybe there was something she had never told me. I stared at the message for almost 5 minutes. One sentence. That was all it contained. "Ethan Walker, before you marry Victoria Sterling, you should know the real reason she chose you." No name, no explanation, just a warning. A warning designed to create doubt. And the worst part was, it worked. Not because I didn't trust Victoria. I did, more than anyone, but because I knew Victoria Sterling better than most people. She was strong. She was determined. She was the kind of person who could carry a company on her shoulders and never complain. But she also had a habit, a dangerous habit. She protected people by hiding things from them. She thought keeping secrets was the same as keeping someone safe. And sometimes, it wasn't. When I arrived at Victoria's apartment that night, she immediately noticed something was wrong. That was the thing about her. The world thought she was emotionless, but she could read me better than anyone. "You're quiet." I placed my jacket on the chair. "I'm thinking." "About what?" I hesitated. Normally, I would have hidden it, but we had promised each other. No more hiding. I took out my phone. Victoria looked at the message. The moment she read it, her expression changed. Not confusion, not surprise, fear. Only for a second, but I saw it. "Victoria." She looked away. "Who sent this?" "I don't know." "Ethan." Her voice became serious. "Delete it." I frowned. "What?" "Delete it." Why? Because it's meaningless. I looked at her. You're lying. Silence. She closed her eyes. And that was when I knew. There was something. Victoria. She sat down. For the first time in a long time, she looked exhausted. I didn't want you to know this before the wedding. My heart tightened. Know what? She didn't answer immediately. Then she said, the reason Adrian hates you. I stayed quiet. He doesn't hate you because you're my fiancé. She looked at me. He hates you because he knows something. What? That you were the reason I left him. I froze. What? Victoria looked down. 5 years ago, before you joined Sterling Global, Adrian and I were close. I nodded. I know. But you don't know the whole story. She took a breath. My father was sick. The company was unstable. Everyone around me wanted me to marry Adrian. Because of business? Yes. She smiled bitterly. They thought he was the perfect choice. And you? I thought so too. That surprised me. You did? Yes. She looked at her hands. Because at that time, I didn't understand love. I listened. I thought love was finding someone who matched your status. A pause. I thought love was someone who could stand beside me in a boardroom. Her eyes lifted. Then I met you. My heart moved. Victoria. She shook her head. Ethan, listen. I stayed quiet. When you joined Sterling Global, you were the first person who didn't care about my last name. You were the first person who didn't want anything from me. You were the first person who looked at me and asked if I was okay. Her voice softened, and that scared me. Why? Because I realized Adrian had never done that. I didn't speak. Victoria continued. He knew my company. He knew my family. He knew my position. But he didn't know me. She looked at me. You did. You sat beside him. So Adrian knows this? Yes. How? Because one night, he saw us together. Doing what? Victoria smiled slightly. The same thing you always did. What? Taking care of me. I remembered. There were many nights when Victoria stayed late. Many nights when I brought her food. Many nights when I told her she needed rest. Things that felt ordinary to me. But apparently, they weren't ordinary to her. Adrian realized something before I did. What? That I was falling in love with you. I looked at her. And what did he do? Her expression became cold. He tried to convince me you were only an employee. I clenched my hand. What did you say? Nothing. I looked at her. Nothing. I was afraid. There it was again. Fear. The one thing Victoria Sterling rarely admitted. I thought if I admitted I loved you. She paused. I would lose control. I smiled sadly. You already lost control. She looked at me. Because of you. I laughed softly. Yes. She smiled. And I'm glad. The next morning, I made a decision. I was going to confront Adrian. Not because I wanted to fight. Not because I wanted to prove myself. Because I was tired of people deciding Victoria's life for her. When I arrived at Black Enterprises, Adrian was already waiting. You came. I looked at him. You knew I would. Yes. Why? Because you're exactly the kind of person I thought you were. I frowned. What does that mean? You care too much. I didn't answer. Adrian leaned back. You know, Ethan, I actually understand why Victoria loves you. That surprised me. You do? Yes. He smiled. You're everything she needed. I narrowed my eyes. Then why are you doing this? His smile disappeared. Because she was supposed to be mine. There it was. The truth. Not love. Possession. She wasn't a contract. Adrian. He looked angry. You don't understand our world. No. I shook my head. I understand it better than you. He stared. You think money and status make someone yours. I stepped closer. But Victoria chose me when I had nothing to offer her. Silence. That's the difference. 2 days later, our wedding day arrived. And somehow, I was calmer than I expected. Maybe because I finally understood something. I wasn't marrying Victoria Sterling, the CEO. I was marrying Victoria, the woman who secretly kept my old coffee receipts. The woman who remembered every small thing about me. The woman who was willing to stand in front of the whole world and say, I choose him. Before the ceremony, I saw her, and, for a moment, I forgot how to breathe. Victoria Sterling, the Ice Queen, the woman who made entire companies nervous, was standing there wearing a white dress. But the expression on her face wasn't powerful. It wasn't cold. It was nervous, like she was afraid. I walked toward her. Victoria. She looked at me. Ethan, you're nervous. She smiled. A little. You? Yes. I laughed. That's impossible. She looked at me. Why? Because you're Victoria Sterling. She smiled. And today, she stepped closer. Today I'm not the CEO. Then who are you? She held my hand. Your bride. My heart stopped, because those words were exactly what she had promised. Not as a CEO, not as someone powerful, just as the woman who loved me. When we stood together during the ceremony, I looked at everyone, my parents, her grandmother, our friends, everyone who had watched our story unfold. A year ago, nobody would have believed this. The assistant and the CEO. The ordinary man and the untouchable woman. But love had never cared about status. It only cared about the person who made you feel at home. When it was time for our vows, Victoria looked at me. Her eyes were shining. I spent years believing I had to be strong all the time. She paused. Then I met you. Her fingers tightened around mine. You taught me that being loved is not weakness. I smiled. She continued. You waited for me when I didn't know how to ask you to stay. A tear appeared in her eyes. And I promise, I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt your place beside me. I looked at her. My turn. She smiled. I took a breath. Victoria, yes, for 5 years, I thought I was just the person standing behind you. I squeezed her hand. But you were the person who was always walking toward me. Her eyes softened. I don't need a perfect life. I don't need a powerful wife. I only need you. She smiled, the smile I had waited 5 years to see. After the ceremony, when everyone had left, Victoria and I stood together. Just us. No company, no titles, no expectations. She leaned against me. Ethan, yes. Do you regret quitting? I smiled. No, really. Yes. Why? I looked at her because quitting my job was the only way I discovered I was never supposed to leave you. She laughed softly. That's a very dramatic answer. You married a dramatic man. I did. She smiled, and I would choose him again. I held her close. 5 years ago, I thought I lost my chance. I thought Victoria Sterling was someone I could only admire from a distance. But I was wrong. Sometimes the person you think is unreachable is the person who has been quietly waiting for you all along. And sometimes the resignation letter you write to leave your old life behind becomes the reason you find the life you were meant to have. Because in the end, I didn't quit to go home and marry someone else. I quit so I could finally marry the woman who had always been my home. The Ice Queen CEO was my boss. Then she became my future. And now, she was my wife.